Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. It's just how the fact of the matter is, though, is that I have to quickly fetch my batteries from my Wii Remote controller, so that way it should able to actually work things out just as nicely, and hopefully that battery notification doesn't ignore me as much. See, Fernando, let's get back into the main game, shall we? So obviously how the fact that Inky's he's not gonna be anticipated by the forms of like, you know, the actual number ordering and stuff like that. You know, you get the you know what I mean. And it looks like Blinky he's gonna be able to actually now place in the forms of, well, building the snowman's eyes. See, Fernando, that it actually represents Pac-Man himself. So yeah, which I think is pretty obvious at this point. So yeah, it looks like we have another battle minigame. But first of all, we have ourselves a Golden House event real quickly. So I need to activate this one here. Alright, sweet. Now I've got myself another glorious power cookie, so thank you. So now my power cookies count is now up to 3. Oh, let me guess, you might actually get something from, you know, either unlucky things, or in this case, some lucky things. So, oh god, this could be bad. Oh, please don't tell me it's gonna be my castle. Okay, good. So it's not my castle, it's just Inky's castle, so at least that's the only worries. That's the only events that always attempt to really tick me off the most, because sometimes it's all kind of randomized at one form or another, because sometimes if you think your castle will be lost, but it turns out it was actually someone else's instead. So that's the only emphasis. You might actually think that you might actually lose yours, but next thing you know, you might as well be safe for the most part. Really? Pizza Party again? Gee, no wonder why it's gonna go for Pizza Party. I think it's most likely because of you know, the most recent game of the Mario Party series, Super Mario Party, has been released just recently and 2 days ago. Seems like everyone else managed to able to fetch some of the pizzas, so I do think it's pretty obvious to able to actually notice something like that, and plus it's on the console/handhelds, because obviously you can able to actually play the game on tabletop mode and especially on TV mode. However though, in Super Mario Party will not work on handheld mode, because it's pretty obvious, because it only supports Joy-Cons, which I will admit though, still I have to be perfectly honest here, I actually really don't mind about this, because obviously we have not seen the actual Nintendo Switch game with only usage of the Joy-Cons since 1-2 Switch for the Nintendo Switch. So yeah, and speaking of such is the fact that it might feel exactly similar to how it does in 1-2 Switch, but Mario Party, I think Super Mario Party does it so much better, because obviously there's more variety in them, especially with the forms of tons of modes you can enjoy, and basically also by the forms of the online functionality. But there's one thing I will admit though right away, is that some people usually complain about the online functionality if the forms of, you know, in Super Mario Party game, because obviously it's, you know, still pretty much limited as far as what Piglet already mentioned about this, during the likes of you know, in the Captain Toad Treasure Tracker Let's Play. So, because, you know, it has, like, shorter amount of games you only have to play on, just like in the forms of in Sochi 2014 Olympic Winter Games on the Nintendo Wii U. But it's just only their first attempt managed to able to did on online mode, but at least I'll give the game some credit for. But maybe in the next game in the series on the Nintendo Switch at some point, they'll eventually try to make it a bit more improvement, if anything is a possibility. So, but we'll never know until when 2019's E3 press conferences is about to be happening, and during the likes of about, let's just say, 8 months from now. Gee, seriously, we actually gone through like 4 months already so far, which is quite fast and ridiculous. So, expecting it might actually be like, you know, upcoming games like, you know, Metroid Prime 4, Animal Crossing for the Nintendo Switch. Now, I've heard from several rumors out there. They're trying to be able to actually releasing Animal Crossing for the Nintendo Switch early next year, which could be something like, you know, March or April, or especially earlier on through next year. But again, we don't know exactly for sure just yet. So anyways, Pac-Man Hustle minigame right there. So we've already played this before, ever since in the very first board in this game. So let's see how this goes, hey? So another thing is worth mentioning, but in forms of the actual, like, what's going to be some predictioning of the forms of, like, the E3 2019 next year. Even though it's a little bit too early, but as far as I'm expecting so far, is the forms of Luigi's Mansion 3 for the Nintendo Switch, and possibly by the forms of the, I would say Metroid Prime 4 as I said before, or maybe especially the possibilities of the forms of like any kind of game that's anything is a possibility. Oh, I did not meant to press the minus button, so I do apologize for that. So, because I have to keep on like, you know, waggling the forms of some of these commands, arrows, as far as that's what's shown on screen. But it really doesn't bother me as much, as long as I have the fact that I can able to actually let the actual motion sensitive stuff can actually recognize itself. So yeah, you get the point. That you obviously get a point. So yeah, I really do like this minigame though, but it's just how the fact that one annoying thing about this is that every time you do a successful move set and stuff like that, it gets like a really annoying cha-ching, cha-ching sound effects, and then it's like, oh my god, that just gets irritating sometimes. But usually speaking, there's not much else to talk through, so. Alright, so it looks like I've won, even though I, despite the fact that I don't do defense or, in this case, attack mode or anything, so it's essentially just, you know, for a power cookie's sake of things, so that's not too bad though. And it looks like we have another minigame window we can do with right there. And this time I'm going to be defending my castle, so. Oh, looks like we have a new minigame right here, so. Yeah, let's see how this one goes. Canyon jump. Use the cannons to shoot to the top of the castle. Gold cannons can launch you anywhere, so be careful. The first player to the top wins. As usual, maneuver around with the directional pad, and press 2 is to get into the actual cannon, and press the plus button is, as you expected, the power cookie's usage. However though, there's one little downside I can think of about this minigame, is that if you ever use the power cookie itself, this happens. Look at that. It's automatically cheating, and it's absolutely game-breaking. Like, I'm serious. If you're able to actually use the power cookie itself, it'll instantly manage to launch you into the goal itself. And first I thought to myself that it might be pretty easy as such, but it's way too cheating. And plus, I think it's incredibly unfair for those who've ever played this with your friends and stuff like that. As far as I said this countless amount of times. Personally, I think the power pellets won't be, well, usually the power cookies won't be able to be existence either way. Although, usually in the free play mode, you can't even like turn off the forms of the power cookie system. But either way though, it's incredibly cheap though. Anyway though, don't know why I was up at this sometimes, but the forms of how the fact that this game can be like sometimes fun in areas, but at the same time it can be pretty darn broken sometimes, even with the forms of the usage of the, you know, the power cookie system. So okay, so it looks like that Inky's not going to be using his hovering boots for now on though, so we'll just simply go ahead and just get ourselves higher number 8. Until we're able to actually just, you know, decide to able to move along and stuff, so yeah. Alright, so it looks like Patra's now come across into a snowman here. Oh no! The snowman! And she's gonna get run over by the forms of the snowball, or just kidding. Well, believe it or not, it appears to be somewhat of a spiritual, similar as the forms of how it does it in the forms of, Captain Tentacle from the forms of Greenwood Grove, except how the fact of the matter is, though, is that he actually has himself his different name. Because, well, he looks a bit too similar to, you know, Captain Tentacle, but except it's all in blue. So, could this be by the forms of Captain Tentacle's brother? Well, we don't know exactly for sure yet, though. Alright, so Inky's now got himself his power cookie, good for him. So that way he could able to get back on track with the forms of, you know, continuously winning for those minigames pretty much though, so. Yeah, you probably know the drill. Although this could be a bad thing for my part, because even then though, that the only thing I need to able to actually just to show you guys is obviously the boss battle itself. But the thing is though, is that we need to able to show that off in the actual board game of it, so... But we'll get to that point as soon as the actual couple of turns is actually going up ahead, so... It looks like we have ourselves another new minigame right here, so that's pretty interesting to say the least. And it appears to be we're going to be bouncing on the jelly, so... Yeah. Okay, so, jiggling, G-Latin, I think that's what the minigame pronunciation says, bounce on the Galatian and try to knock other players off, but don't fall off yourself, the last player standing wins. So, basically, it's just another one of those, survival minigames and stuff like that. Pretty self-explanatory stuff if you're most likely used to at this point. And I believe the power cookie is going to be yet again broken, because even then, though, especially noticeable, if you actually get hit by the forms of the giant forms of themselves, basically they get themselves a massive knockback. So even then though, that could be, you know, pretty unfair for most players, and sometimes the fact that, again, if you ever play this with your friends, it will be very, very, very unfair for them. So even then, I do think it's pretty obvious for that point. So, yeah, you probably know this for this stuff. Alright. Excuse me. It's got something on my throat there, so I think that's the only reason why that it took me so many attempts, and plus as a result, the lack of uploading time schedules recently because of how the fact that happens. So, but don't worry though, again, when we actually get into like the final main board of the game, which is Celebration Avenue, until when it gets to like Thursday the 11th of October, because I'll speak to that from that as soon as that day comes. And hopefully I'm also able to talk more things throughout, so yeah. Alright, for the most part though, I think I should probably take 5 or 4. But even then, that's only because I need to able to let the boss approach in the forms of the actual estimation mark points. So even then, if that's the case, then it would able to actually help me out for quite some bits. So in this case, I've got myself 4 right here. So I might be fine with 4, as long as I can able to actually just go ahead and, probably just take my pacing down. So even then, because I need to able to stumble across a boss fight, because if we don't come across into the forms of the boss fight in this board, then we should probably once again gonna have to able to actually do this on free play mode. So even then, that could be expecting so. So, anyway. And I think we got ourselves a minigame after that, so, or before beyond that. Oh no, this could be a bad thing. I'm thinking this might be a bad thing, because, obviously, because of how the fact that with the... You gotta be joking. You've got to be joking. It's always one of those things. It's always one of those things, how the fact that if you think you're about to be able to actually activate the actual boss fight itself, but then, turns out, we're gonna get screwed over, so thanks a lot, luck. But on the plus side though, I've got my castle bonus, so that's the only good thing, but it's just how the fact of the matter is though, I'm desperate to able to actually show you guys of the forms of every single minigames has to offer. Granted though, there are only like 50 of them, so yeah, you probably get this point for this suggestion, so Pac Valley, oh god, I'm not a big fan of this one. It's most likely because of my hit detection is so lacking, and plus as a result, you can't really hit the racket with the forms of while you're moving it, so you always have to like, you know, trying to stay put most of the time when it comes to like, you know, when you're trying to hit yourself or hit the balls right back into the actual moving machine. So, and plus as a result, computer players are gonna super catching up at this point, so even though you probably get the... You are joking me! I've lost by 1 point! God damn it, Inky. God damn it. I freaking know it. I'm so mad. Well, not so much mad, but it's just one of those things how the fact that these computer opponents are so aggressive when it comes to using those power cookies wisely, because if they use it like 1 too many times, then they'll just essentially wasted the forms of every single power cookies they have. So, oh well, no big deal, especially noticeable how the fact that I've always get myself the much more upgraded castles themselves, so yeah, you probably get the drill. Alright, so I'm gonna go after one because, obviously, because I need to see the actual boss fight itself, so strangely enough, Inky's never going to be using his hovering boost for some reason. I don't know why that is, but anyways, let's go and get ourselves one here. There, thank you. It looks like Blinky, he's gonna go after 8, so good for him. He's gonna be moving way further than us, so yeah, you probably get the job from that point, so you know. Alright, so he's gonna be using this boat right there. Even though, again, I do apologize if the forms of the most awkward silence, even with the pausing, with the forms of commentary sakes, is most likely because, well, to be honest, I'm running out of ideas with the forms of discussions to make. So even though, aside from, you know, most of the stuff is going to happen during next week at some point, so, okay, yeah, I might as well get into the new space, so that's good, if it's anything possibilities. I like the personality of this sometimes. Even then, Wolfhard managed to punch the forms of that little, propeller machine right there, and then next thing you notice is that propeller, contraption thing is still managed to able to actually just, caught Wolfhard right there, which I think is actually pretty hilarious. Actually, this might be a bad thing, because I think, if I remember correctly, that propeller contraption right there just managed to take me almost nearly towards the end of the board. So this could be either a good thing or a bad thing if I want to show off the forms of the boss fight itself. So in this case, it could be a mixed. So, oh man, 2 minigames all in one go? Blimey, man. Okay, so do we at least get a new minigame for this matter? Because we're getting sick of the forms of some of these minigames sometimes. Oh, here's a new one here. Oh no, I really hate this one so much. Puka Pop. Take turns pumping air into a Punka plane or Punka balloon. You can pump 3 times per turn. Pump the most air to win, but don't pop the Puka. So basically you just have to like shake the Wiimote downwards, sideways, I should say, until you're able to pump the balloon. Just like in forms of how it does it in Balloon Blast Bash, but in forms of in Mario Party 10. Except I feel like Mario Party 10 is a little bit more better, but it might be pretty bare bones as you would think. But obviously because of the way how it usually structures and stuff, I just can't really think about it for this point right now. In fact, the matter is, though, is that if you think you're about to able to win this, in fact, this minigame is also very similar to the ones that you forms of Bowser's Big Blast, or in this case, Bowser's Bigger Blast from both Mario Party 4 and Mario Party 2, including Mario Party the Top 100. The fact of the matter is, though, is that this minigame can be pretty luck-based sometimes, even if you ever think if, you know, Puka Balloon managed to able to burst itself, but turns out you think that, the computer players will still live, so, yeah, that could be pretty nuisance. But luckily, I've managed to win, because I've managed to able to use that, power cookie as far as I've managed to able to use that, so that gives me some pretty good, averages, but in forms of, like, if ever trying to win these minigames sometimes. So, yeah, you get the point for this point, so, yeah. And I'm presuming the next minigame is going to be just the same thing. I'm hoping it won't be a very long minigame, unlike crazy curling and stuff like that, so... Oh! Okay, whatever. Oasis or Burst, yet again. I found this minigame to be kind of longish at times, but not as quite as long as crazy curling, I don't feel like, but... This is one of those minigames that attempt to really overstay the welcome sometimes, even by the forms of how the fact that it took about 2 minutes to able to actually finish these minigames sometimes, even compared to how it does it for crazy curling and stuff like that. Even especially noticeable with the forms of, you know, this minigame right here, which is the forms of Oasis or Bust, so... Oh well, no big deal, but even then though, that's just how I think it is, especially if it's all randomized at one form or another, so it's nothing like the forms of the Mario Party series, because, you know, it's all just a matter of the same thing, but it doesn't really tell you what the minigames are going to be at, so even then though, that you can't really tell what's going to be up next, so... But at least aside from that, though, that's besides the point. Alright, so we have to be very careful with these tornadoes yet again, so... You know, you probably noticed the drill from this point, but eventually when we get to, like, a Let's Play of Super Mario Party, or when it gets to next year at some point, hopefully we can able to actually talk a lot more things to it, because obviously, Super Mario Party has a lot of minigames compared to, like, well, it's still roughly 80 of them, just like in Mario Party 9, Mario Party 8, and especially notable with, well, obviously, Mario Party Island Tour, and that's about it, obviously, because in Mario Party 10, it only has like 70 or more minigames, and Mario Party Star Rush only has like 50 minigames, which is quite less, just like in the forms of the ones in Mario Party 1. And especially noticeable with the forms of Mario Party, the top 100 usually only contains just 100. So, which I think, you know, pretty obvious because of, you know, nostalgic reasons for the forms of the past entries of the series. So, at least for the console Mario Party series, as far as I'm aware. But, again, I just wish if those would be played on the Switch instead of on the 3DS. I mean, usually the 3DS, the 3DS system's never gonna give up, don't they? Even, like, if you think the 3DS is about to be over on its life, but, you know, expecting predictions might be as, you know, 50% chance if you ever think about the 3DS is dead, or even especially noticeable with the forms of, like, the 3DS is still in existence, so, which I think is pretty obvious. And I know some people seem to able to actually found this to be, you know... Okay, for some reason, this particular... every single turns, when the actual turn starts in the forms of Crystal Cliffs, is that for some reason, it just takes absolute... Ugh, I hate this particular point. What I'm gonna do for this point is that I need to keep on getting one, though, because unlike in the forms of, unlike the ones in Spooky Hollow, that I did manage to try my best to get as many of those one low rolls, but, unfortunately, it's due to expire just because of the lack of timing I did done when it comes to, like, the forms of that dart, section, but it comes to, like, it's your turn or whatever, so... Really? Blinky doesn't have any castles? That feels pretty late for him. But I think it's most likely because, I'm pretty sure, both me and Patra, and especially noticeable with, Inky, did manage to take over with every single castles, so... Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious. I believe we got another minigame to deal with right there, because obviously, as you can see, Inky's right next to me, so... In fact, there's only one of them at the moment, so... Do we get a new minigame for that, or is it gonna be just the exact same ones as the forms that we already played before? So speaking of such, here we have Wobbly Ice Cream again. Of course, as you might expect it, so... In fact, what I found noticed something is the fact that we've almost pretty much done with the forms of the minigames themselves, because obviously we haven't got as many left when it comes to the minigames variety yet, because obviously we've got 2 more boss fights left, excluding by the forms of the one last one before you're able to get into the forms of Celebration Avenue board, and eventually when that's been done, then we are essentially going to be moving on to the extra side modes, like to be more specifically classic mode, or in this case, classic games mode, and especially noticeable with the forms of the rewards modes, which is very standard stuff. So anyways, I've managed to claim my victory here. Not too shabby though, even though that, again, sometimes computer players are pretty insufficiency when it comes to like shoving you over and stuff like that, so even I know, yeah. So as far as the board lengths are concerned, when it comes to Pac-Man Party itself, I think the most longest boards of the game so far anyway, at least as far as I've noticed something, is the fact that, you know, Mirage Oasis is one of the biggest boards of the game. And the medium-sized boards are 3 of them actually, which are Greenwood Grove, and especially noticeable with Spooky Hollow, and especially Crystal Cliffs. And especially with the forms of, well, in the forms of Celebration Avenue, it's going to be one of the shortest boards of the game, so even then, I don't know why I managed to able to go through the story mode stages order, so anyways, there we go, I've got my 1 here, because again, need to let someone else manage to activate the forms of the boss battle itself, so And it's also a good thing as well, because I think I might actually get myself my next castle until whenever I decide to upgrade the castle. So that way it could able to actually help me out for a little bit. And it looks like Inky's gonna go to the cookie factory itself as well. So I'm pretty sure he might actually still retain the double cookie system. I'm presuming that much, but even then I haven't really paid too much attention to that, so do apologize for that. Alright, so oh man, 2 of these players are managed to able to land on that Inky's castle except me. So looks like we're going to just have like one mini game yet again. So no big deal anyway, because even then, yeah, it doesn't bother me too much sometimes, even though some exceptions, mind you, but, you know, you get a drill for that point. Alright, so what's the next minigame we're gonna have to deal with right there? Even though I was expecting there's gonna be a new one coming up, but I really don't know if there's anything possibilities. We played this before already, so yeah, I think it's about time to able to shave off the wool off every kinds of sheep here, and yeah, as you might think about it, so you know. Okay, so I think I should probably use my power cookie for this point, because obviously I need to able to get this over with and done with before we're able to actually decide to actually either finish the main board, or in this case just trying to deal with the actual boss fight itself. Although obviously I said this before, I need to able to most likely worried about the forms of missing out the boss events, because if I get a 2 on the next turn, this means it's already been over. But I just don't know why, for some reason that some of these computer players always attempt to go for low rolls, which I don't know why they keep doing that. Although it's most likely because of the difficulty currents, or maybe it's probably something else. Oh, ouch. Poor Patra, and especially notable with Blinky right there, because they lose so much of their cookies. Well, I'm guessing that Inky's gonna be the main threat of this board, without doubt. Yeah, because for some reason it takes forever to load when it goes like that. So as you can see right there, it took about like, I would say 5 seconds to load this thing up. So you've got to be kidding me. We have to go for that Pichico machine again. Okay, good, thank you. And please, for the love of God, Blinky, get a higher roll, thank you. And I think this will able to actually get a perfect opportunity, because yeah, as you can see, the camera is mainly focusing on, you know, Blinky right there, so that could be possibly mean. That way, he might as well able to come across into the boss fight now, so good for him. And it's a perfect way to deal with that, because obviously that we can able to deal with the actual boss fight now, so yeah, nice one, Blinky. Nice one on you. Alright, time for the 4th boss fight in the forms of Pac-Man Party for, you know, Nintendo Wii / Nintendo, well, even though the 3DS version only has 3 bosses, whilst in the forms of the Wii version, it only has like 5 bosses, so you probably noticed the drill. It appears to be that that particular boss is actually not going to be swimming on water this time, so I think it's pretty obvious because the water itself is so cold. Like, I couldn't imagine that. So, anyways, showdown with Kraken. It's a showdown in the snow with Kraken. Attack him by throwing snowballs at its legs, then head. Defend yourself with your umbrella. So, throw A or B to throw a snowball, or in this case, press A and B buttons together to open up the umbrella. So, yeah, as far as I can see, it's basically you have to do like continuously throwing snowballs at the forms of you know, Kraken, and basically you can able to deal some of the damage. In this case, just trying to rank up more points. And I believe the power cookie is going to be also broken, because obviously you can get even more points as a result of that matter. And then plus, I think it'll do double the amount of damage when it comes to like the tentacles, or especially its head itself. So I'm assuming that's why this is usually how this goes. But if I had to pick one of my least favorite boards, the least favorite boards of the entirety of the game, to be honest, I don't think there's anything least favorite about them. I think my least favorite boards of the entire game so far will have to be by the forms of like, this is kind of tough actually, because obviously I have no major problems with the actual, like, game itself, aside from those really terrible loading screens. And yeah, I really do apologize if the forms of my voice again, because obviously there's not much else I can really talk for this point, and especially noticeable how the fact that I'm, you know, pretty much senseless now. So anyways, let's go ahead and keep on throwing the snowballs right onto its Kraken's head. And even though this boss fight plays exactly like any forms of, like, showdown with Captain Tentacle, but it plays exactly quite differently, because you can able to actually just stand completely still. Oh yeah, I got stunned, so whoops. Okay then, so we'll try to finish him off, don't worry. Hopefully it should be down at any moment. Even though bosses can take forever to kill though, unlike any forms of in Mario Party 9 and 10, they usually become super quick when it comes to doing with those boss fights, and especially notable with Mario Party Island Tour and Star Rush. So yeah, as you might expect or something. So anyways, come on, hopefully you should be dead by now. Come on. Okay, I think he's done. Yeah, because of that little cinematic is coming up. So he's got temporarily frozen, and as soon as he gets frozen, this is where something violently cruelty what this is gonna happen. He throws a giant snowball and shatters. That is, like, somewhat gruesome, even though if the lack of blood and everything, but either way though. So we have essentially done with the forms of the actual main boss of the forms of, well, Crystal Cliffs. Now I'm really glad that I can show this off, because eventually, oh yeah, of course, we do have some of these two of those minigames we need to tackle through first, which I'm pursuing so correctly. So even then, I don't know which one of those minigames we can able to come across into on the other hand though, because obviously I was one space away to be able to actually reach at the goal at the forms at the very end of the board, so at least I'm expecting I was really close. Oh no, please don't tell me it's gonna be my castle. Oh well. That sucks. No blame on you, Inky, for that part. I mean, at least I deserve it, but it's just how the way the fact of the matter is, though, is that you screwed up everything for my life. Anyway. Of course, we have two minigames, of course. Hoping for some new ones, even though I'm assuming that we have to go for the exact same ones, so... Of course, we have the Chocolate Chompers again, so I think we've played this before, since Greenwood Grove, actually, so at least I'm very good at this one, though, so expecting so I'm pretty much expert at this one, despite with the lack of analog controls and stuff like that. Well, technically, there's actually a second controller you can able to use for this game, surprisingly enough, but we'll get more into that as soon as we're able to get into the classic games modes, even then, because as a result, we still have not done with the forms of the party mode just yet, though, so even then, that, don't worry. There's still a lot of things to cover for this point right now, so there we go. And yeah, Rufa, you're most able to have some lovely chocolate treats. Well, usually as far as I can usually say about it, but other than the chocolate itself might be somewhat a little bit unhealthy at points, even for, you know, contain some special ingredients and stuff, but either way. Alright, final minigame of the forms of Crystal Cliffs, and which one is it gonna be? It's gonna be... Icy Islands. Of course. Just need to concentrate for this point. Even though this might be a little bit tricky for the most part though, just like the forms of Pack Locker. But, it's just the way the fact of the matter is, though, it's because of the lack of, depth perception when you go almost nearly towards further away from the screen. I think that's how it usually represents for us, so... Anyway, see if I can win this. No. Oh, shoot. Oh, well. I really do try it, but... Honestly, I'm just a little bit into... I'm just way too impatient, just like where Sonic usually just becomes, like... super impatient, so, but oh well, at least I'll take 4th place, and at least I might as well let Patra get her next castle, so, Oh well, because I'm pretty sure the game board itself is pretty much over right now, so even then though, it doesn't matter what number I can get for this point now, so... But first of all, let's go ahead and see those little cinematics with the castles in mind. So, obviously I've got myself my level 3 castle now. So, and especially notable where Patra has now managed to get herself the level 2 castle instead of me. So, I might be alright with this for the most part, so... Anyways, oh yeah, we got the new achievement unlocked, which appears to be like battle against with Kraken and stuff like that. So let's just go for like I would say one will do. But there we go, folks. I'm presuming that that's pretty much it with the forms of Crystal Cliffs. So yeah, 4th victory, despite the fact with the lack of challenge and everything like that. I think this is what the actual difficulty I might as well stuck with for now. So especially noticeable when we get to Sonic Shuffle. Oh boy, this might actually be a very different story. But anyways. Rufa is now the king of the forms of the Icicle Kingdom, alongside with Princess Elsa, but that was in a different universe. Like, you know, the Disney universe and stuff. But I digress. Enough about this little jokes already, so let's say we'll wrap things up with this videos today. So even then, yeah, we've only got one more board to deal with right there, and now we'll have the form service size, as far as I've mentioned this before, second to nothing? Okay, I might as well look that up later, but even then though, I'll have to look that up for myself once I finish this recording session, so... Yeah, I guess that was about it, obviously, so we've done 4 boards of the game already, and I really cannot believe we're actually breezing for this game so fast and quick at these days. So yes, I guess I'll just have to end things off at this point right there, so join me next time on Let's Play Pac-Man Party. To be more specifically, as far as I've mentioned this to you guys before, I'll be seeing you guys until when it gets to like the 11th of October and the first day. I'm going to be meeting you guys about the forms of the final board of the game, Celebration Avenue. So yeah, this should be interesting and fun. So see you guys next time. Later, fellas.